Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Tumasi on Love 99.5 FM. We are also on affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Kaliawo FM in Nakachi. We are on Dreams FM in Bogatanga, Lolonyo FM in Hohoi. We are on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC, HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice demands evidence forming basis of South Dai MP's request for a probe into the Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng report. We have details as the MP tells Shraj to contact Professor Frimpong Boateng since he's the author of the controversial report. Stay on for details of that. Ghana slips 2 places on the latest Global Peace Index. Details as conflicts remain key contributors to the decline.
On the radar, and as long as there is sporadic shooting and violence in that area, the indicator will continue to record.
Also this afternoon, dams constructed under the One Village One Dam project in Bongo cannot hold enough water to be of use to residents during times of dire need.
Dam always take us 2 months to dry up, only 2 months. October, November, the water dry up.
Also details on this. Later in the news, we'll take you to the eastern region town of Anum and tell you the story behind the prohibition of keeping dogs by residents.
The reason we don't keep dogs in this town is because our deity guards the people with his own dogs.
We have sports.
Ghana could face tough opponents in the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Details later.
Take you live to the forecourt of the State House where President Akufo-Addo and other dignitaries eulogize a late playwright and author Ama Ata Edu at her funeral rites. We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News. Please do stay on for details. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. We're digging now, and the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj, has written to South Dai MP Roxanne Nelson Dapamakbo demanding a tall list of evidence to enable it probe named officials in the Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng report. The legislator petitioned Shraj to investigate the matter following widespread publication of the report with focus on how key government and politically connected individuals stifle the fight against illegal mining. The Office of the Special Prosecutor and Shraj are currently the agencies investigating the matter. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable joins me via Zoom with details of this. Joseph, let's first run through the evidence Shraj is demanding from the MP.
So, Emefa, quite a tall list by way of the specific demands that have been made. So, first, there's the question about the evidence of damage up to the forest reserves, evidence of seized excavators, names and particulars of the said big men and nature of their communications, evidence of mining operations being undertaken by Mr. Charles Owusu, evidence showing that Mr. Charles Owusu was mining without permit, evidence of several dozens of large-scale concessions being held by Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, the former MP for Amanso Kwanta, among others. So it's simply a demand for evidence backing the allegations that were effectively contained in that particular report that was said to have been authored by Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. And Shraj wrote to the Member of Parliament indicating that as part of its preliminary investigations into the matter, it is asking that he provides these evidences to enable Shraj to undertake the investigations.
Well, we know that the MP makes some legal arguments backing his position that Shraj should contact Professor Frimpong Boateng. Tell us more.
The MP argues through his lawyers that as far as he is concerned, the onus is on Shraj to carry out its investigation. And in terms of the evidential rule, he makes the point that a copy of the report is what they have made available. In terms of the specific evidence backing those allegations, they make the case that there are publications indicating Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, the former chairman of the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, indicating publicly that he stands by the contents of the report. And so they say that that means that he is the one who authored it and he has those evidence. And so if Shraj is minded and wants access to those evidence, then Shraj should go ahead and invite him. Mr. Dafiam Report's lawyers make the point that he has discharged his constitutional mandate, requiring that such petitions be sent to Shraj to investigate allegations of corruption and abuse of office. And once he has discharged that mandate, the onus is now on Shraj to carry out its investigations into this particular matter. So they're asking that Shraj should proceed to obtain the said evidence from Professor Kwabena Frimpong.
Well, that's a legal affairs correspondent, Joseph Akable. Let me bring in the South MP himself, Roxanne Nelson Dapamakpo. Thankfully joins us on the line. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Midday News. So from what we understand, is it to say that all you have is what is contained in the Professor Frimpong report?
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Dapamakpo. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so we've been talking about the letter written to you by Shraj, and I'm asking that from what we understand, is it to say that all you have is what is contained in the Professor Kwabena Frimpong report?
Yes, the issue is that Shraj responded to the petition by asking me to provide further and better particulars in respect of some matters that they listed in their letter. And if we recall, the petition is based on the report issued by Professor Frimpong himself and made those very serious allegations. So my position is very simple, that Professor Frimpong himself is the best person to make available these details.
Well,
so I've responded to the letter, and Prof has indicated his willingness to appear before the commission and answer to questions. So I believe that once he's invited to speak to the matter, you have documents to adduce to support the claims that he made in the report that he issued to the office of the president, which is the subject of the petition.
So the indication you're getting from Shraj in terms of the letter they wrote to you is that whether you provide evidence or not, the investigation will still go on, or if you don't provide the evidence, the investigation will cease.
Then the indication I get is that they are waiting for these documents before they make progress. That indeed that is the tenor of the last paragraph of the letter. So I have responded appropriately by saying that they can proceed with the matter, and from what he says in the documents and the other materials that they want from me, and so he will provide them.
And what has been the response of Shraj, or they are yet to respond to the response
the
that you gave to them?
Their letter to me it was recently written, and I responded yesterday. So I believe that we'll see how this goes.
But is it surprising to you and your team, this particular request for evidence from Shraj to you?
Yes. I mean, indeed, very surprising, but it's not odd. It's very surprising, but it's not odd. It's just a matter of procedure, and I think that we'll get over that hurdle and make progress in the matter.
Okay, we're grateful. That's the South MP, Roxanne Nelson Dapamakpo there. I'll take you to the Ashanti region now, where Kumasi High Court did not take the plea of a police inspector standing trial for the alleged murder of his girlfriend at a doom in Kumasi, as lawyers for the accused failed to show up in court. Inspector Ahmed Tumasi is accused of shooting his girlfriend multiple times, leading to her death. My colleague Ohiming Terry on our security desk is on the beat for us, joins us with details. So Ohiming, was the court informed of the reason behind the absence of lawyers of the accused person?
Yes, Emefa, according to Inspector Ahmed Tumasi, he could not give the details of his lawyer, talking about his name and his phone number. So the court was left with no decision than to adjourn hearing, because according to him, he has lost touch with the lawyer, and he can only identify the lawyer whom he couldn't mention his name to the court by his face. So that was what compelled the court to adjourn hearing to 26th of this month.
Now let's talk about the family of the late Majwa. What's been their reaction to this latest development?
Emefa, I would say the family members, a few of them who had gathered in court, were very, very disappointed. I counted a woman and 4 other males who were present at the court. they had expected to be at the court in their numbers to witness proceedings because where the court is located is very close to where they live. So unfortunately, because of the time constraints, they couldn't make it to court in their numbers. They were very disappointed that hearing for the first time could not happen for the plea of the accused person to be taken, so that the court could also panel a jury to hear the case in this regard.
That's my colleague Oheming Teria following up on this incident for us in the Ashanti region. Let's head to the Upper East region now, where the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools say it is concerned that the agitation by students of the Binduri Community Day School could be replicated by students in other schools within the region as feeding challenges continue to hamper smooth running of the schools. Charles says the shortage in some of the schools is creating tension between school authorities and students. We're going to hear from Charles shortly, but first, listen to some of the students who protested in Binduri yesterday.
You are providing them food 2 times, even 3 times a day. But here, only once. Even though we cook without salt, oil you will not get. Only bank anything. We are here suffering every day. What is wrong with us?
They stopped cooking for us. That was 29th May. Up to date, they haven't started cooking for us. And we have sent it to the authorities, but there is no feedback. That's the reason why we are out here, but not in class. And they came to this school. They are not like house best. We don't know why they are not. When we go out.
Well, the Upper East Regional Secretary of CHAS, Bukari Abdul, has been speaking to Joy News following that demonstration and partial shutdown of the Binduri Senior High School.
What has happened in Binduri is likely to influence other students in other schools to also agitate. As they kept reporting during our conferences, we've always advised them to report to the immediate superiors, as the district or municipal directors, and then they will deal with the situation with the federal authority.
Now, away from the day schools, the community day schools, how dire is the situation of food in the boarding schools in the region?
Yeah, in the boarding schools, we only have challenges with some particular food items. For example, granules has become a problem. From January up to now, we have not had milk. Bread flour too has become a challenge.
From January till now, you have not received milk.
We have not received. We do without it. We do without it. We know buffer stock and prisoner high school are in charge of supply of food to the schools. So we look up to them. So our appeal to government to look at those areas. Granules, in fact, has become a serious challenge. And without granules, most of the meals becomes a challenge. So we'll appeal to government to continue to do its best like it has been doing.
Well, the Binduri District Director of Education, John Jagri Soka, says there will be an emergency meeting today with the school authorities on the issue.
This is something that we have taken up to discuss with the management of the school. We are going to hold a management meeting. Yesterday I was in the school to meet the teachers and the final year students.
But what excuse did the caterer give for not cooking for them?
The caterer's excuse is that she hasn't been paid for her services and she's still expecting some payment to be made to her to continue.
Let's head back to the Greater Accra region now, this time off to Parliament, where the minority they are demanding that government reopen the procurement process to select a strategic partner for the Tema Oil Refinery, as they describe the current deal with Torrentco as a rip-off. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us on the line. Tell us more, Kweku.
So, Emefa, a few weeks ago, that deal came up and the minority have been insistent that this deal does not inure to this country's benefit. They say that they want government to open up the process again so that more entities will have better terms to apply and be signed on.
Unfortunately, the Akufo-Addo-led government has been sleeping on the job and has left the refinery to rot. Having failed to continue with the progress made under Mahama-led administration, they have decided to lease the thermal oil refinery to Torrentco Asset Management. And if you read the details of the contract, they are supposed to refine just about 8 million barrels. That is woefully inadequate. We believe that that contract is inimical. That contract will not inure to the benefit of the country. That contract will not benefit the ordinary Ghanaian, and that contract does not meet value for money. We are therefore calling on the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia-led government to put a halt to this lease agreement.
Well, so that's a ranking member on the Energy Committee in Parliament there, John Jinapo, earlier addressing that press conference. But Kweku, has there been any reaction to this and also the latest happening in Parliament?
Well, the government side hasn't responded to that. They've told us that prior to this news conference, there had been some engagement with TOR to get some understanding of what this deal is and whether or not they can come before Parliament. But on the floor now, there are some questions for the Transport Minister. He said to answer them. But the big business today will be the review of Parliament standing orders to make, for instance, committee meetings accessible to the public, to allow for constitutional independent bodies like the EC to come to the floor and answer questions. Currently, the dispensation is that only ministers of state are allowed to come and answer questions on the floor. They want to review the standing orders to allow the EC, SHRAG, and other constitutional bodies to be able to come to the floor and answer the questions. And that is the bigger business that the House will be considering today.
That's a Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kwekwa Sante. Let's now rejoin our Legal Affairs correspondent, Joseph Akable, and we are told that the Chief Justice has been petitioned to remove the judge handling the Minority Leader Ato Forson's case. Joseph Akable, give us details. What are we learning?
So the case is currently being handled by Justice Isia Sewa Sariboke, who is actually a court factual judge sitting as an additional High Court judge. I mean, just a short while ago, she announced in court that she had just been notified that a petition has been sent to the Chief Justice by the businessman who is standing trial alongside the Minority Leader, that is Richard Jackson, asking that she be precluded from hearing this particular matter on the allegation of bias. We do not know the particulars of that bias, but again, she announced that there's another petition that has also been filed. This is in the form of a motion here at the High Court by Dr. Akufo, the Minority Leader, through his lawyers, asking that she recuses herself again on the allegation of bias as well. And so, two separate actions, but she makes the point that because the one that has been sent to the Chief Justice in the nature of an administrative procedure, she's putting the trial on hold, hoping that the next date, which is July 27, maybe the Chief Justice would have taken a decision on whether she should recuse herself or not. And so once that decision comes in, then they will decide on the other motion, which is before her court.
And how has the state been reacting to this?
The prosecutors, they disagree in terms of the motion that has been filed, but they've not had an opportunity to even respond to it yet because the court is not even dealing with that. With regards to the process that is at the Chief Justice, an administrative one, and so it is not one that they even have the opportunity to comment on directly in terms of the legal processes at the court here. So they are also monitoring closely to see what will happen of what has been sent to that court for the Chief Justice.
Well, this news just coming in is also available on myjoyonline.com. But Ghana has also been displaced from its position as the second most peaceful country in sub-Saharan Africa on the 2023 Global Peace Index. It is now in 4th place and 51st in the world. The nation is among 163 independent states rated in this year's ranking by the Institute of Economics and Peace, the IEP. The research found that the world had become less peaceful in the last 15 years. External and internal conflicts are main reasons cited for the deteriorating peace in countries including Ghana. My colleague Mamie Sinyamiche Thompson looks at the ranking in the following report.
The 17th edition of the Global Peace Index covers 163 countries, comprising 99.7% of the world's population. The study was based on 23 qualitative and quantitative indicators from highly respected sources and measures the state of peace across 3 main domains: the level of societal safety and security, the extent of ongoing domestic and international conflict, and the degree of militarization. The report found that global peace had deteriorated by 0.42%. 84 countries had improved peace, and peace in 79 countries had declined. Iceland remains the most peaceful country in the world, followed by Denmark, Ireland, New Zealand, and Austria. Afghanistan is the least peaceful in the world for the 8th consecutive year, followed by Yemen, Syria, South Sudan, and the Republic of Congo. In sub-Saharan Africa, Mauritius is ranked the most peaceful country, followed by Botswana, Sierra Leone, and Ghana in 4th place. Below the ladder is Cote d'Ivoire at 16th, Togo 19th, Nigeria comes in 37th and followed closely by Burkina Faso at 39th position. Sub-Saharan Africa recorded a slight fall in peacefulness, with the average country score deteriorating by 0.57%. Of the 44 countries in the region, 21 improved in score while 22 deteriorated and 1 remained unchanged. The region is less peaceful than the global average on the safety and security and ongoing conflict domains, but more peaceful than the global average on the militarization domain. Meanwhile, the report states that Russia's invasion of Ukraine and its consequences were the main drivers of the deterioration in peacefulness globally. Both Russia and Ukraine are now ranked amongst the 10 least peaceful countries, and Ukraine had the largest deterioration of any country in the 2023 Global Peace Index.
Well, OneApp is calling for a concerted stakeholder engagement in dealing with the lapses in Ghana's case, so to uphold the peace, especially going into the 2024 elections. Albert Yel-Yang is the National Network Coordinator for OneApp.
I think that we need to take the report as it is, do an analysis, look at the indices that they have been reported on. Now, beyond that, we need to do a further analysis of our own situation, coming out with certain indicators that we think that, could be things we should monitor on, and then begin to do interventions that then can address those situations. For instance, we have the issue of Boko, which is still on the radar, and as long as there is, sporadic shooting and violence in that area, the indicator will continue to record,
Albert Yel-Yang there, taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News Live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi, on Love 99.5 FM. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC, HDPE pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. We've been hearing from the South Dai MP, who has been asking Sraj to continue with investigations and rather probe the matter with Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng's report. When we return from the break, we have sports, and then I'll take you to the eastern region town of Enum and tell you the story behind the prohibition of keeping dogs by residents.
The reason we don't keep dogs in this town is because our deity guards the people with his own dogs.
We shared an impossible, enduring, encompassing bond that ensqueezed a lifetime of loving and friendship into those afternoons and evenings.
We'll get to hear the president and also dignitaries eulogizing late playwright and author Ama Ataidu at her final funeral rites at the forecourt of the State House.
Even though she never took up a gun in Africa's struggle for independence, her pen did the fighting.
It's been hard moving on without you.
Thanks for staying with us. Let's do sports now. Mubarak, what do we have?
Yes, in about 3 hours or even less, the Black Stars will get to know their opponent for the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Ghana is in Pot 2 and could face tough oppositions like Nigeria, Morocco, or even Senegal, who are in Pot 1. Remember, 48 teams will participate at the next World Cup, and as a result, there has been some changes in the qualification path. Gareth Smith has more.
So for Ghana to qualify for the 2026 World Cup, unlike for 2022 where there was a group stage and then Ghana advanced to the playoff and that was it, for 2026, two things can happen. Ghana would have to top its group, which will be decided at 3 p.m. today in Abidjan, and win outright to be one of 9 teams to qualify, and those 9 teams will get automatic qualification. Now, if Ghana does not finish top and qualify, then they would have to be one of the best 4 runners-up. Now, these runners-up will go into a CAF playoff. And should Ghana win that CAF playoff, then the Black Stars will go to a FIFA playoff, an intercontinental playoff. It is only there, if they win, then they become the 10th team to qualify. So it's a bit more convoluted than for 2022. And with Ghana's current performance and current ranking, it's brought fears that, it may not be that easy to make it to the World Cup.
Joy Sports editor Gary L. Smith.
Thank you very much, Mubarak. It's time for our Floods of Trauma series. And today, living in a perennial flooding community can be very distressing. There have been many instances where flooding and stagnant waters have led to the loss of lives and property. Nana Boachi Dankwayiadon visits Orium and Syria in the Ashanti region where residents have abandoned their homes due to floods.
Each year, flooding causes more deaths than any other hazard related to thunderstorms. It wreaks havoc on development infrastructure and increases human casualties all over the world. In the Ashanti region, Ohum and Sewa are known as flooding communities. Residents experience heavy flooding anytime there is a downpour. Adjoa Tichiwa and Mary Owusu are residents of Ohum and victims of floods in the community. They narrate the difficulties they go through anytime there is a downpour.
Anytime it floods, the Yenesu River is unable to house the flood water, allowing it to get into my house. We would realize everything is wet, including our mattresses.
And so Banachi side, you speed the pants. It's 1 year and pay baby and far. And a midranny a booming.
I broke my arm when my house got flooded. The flood waters are heavy, so while escaping, I twisted my arm. We plead with the government to do something about this.
To the eastern region now, in the town of Enum, where residents and visitors are not allowed to keep dogs. I'm sure you're wondering why. Samuel Mbura has more.
In the eastern region town of Enum, you may never hear the barking of a live dog. If you ever do, it may either be from your television or an audio recording. Moving around the town, you will find cats, goats, and other animals, but for dogs, no way. Residents here like Kofi has a desire to keep dog for hunting and security at home. However, the fear of divine punishment as well as the disapproval of the town's revered elders has compelled him to conform to the customs.
As for me, I would have preferred to keep dogs because they can be used for security at home and hunting. But our elders are insisting we go by the instructions of the gods and we can't do anything about it.
What lay at the heart of this intriguing custom? Kofi Osai, the revered Asafwache of the Nimfa division in the Num traditional area, explains.
The reason we don't keep dogs in this town is because our deity guards the people with his own dogs. He dislikes the barking of other dogs who may see him patrolling the town at night and prefers to operate in silence without attracting any attention.
Well, that's Samuel Mbura's report, and it's available on all our social media platforms. Off to the State House now, where they've been eulogizing late author Ama Ataidu. She was a knowledgeable teacher, an exceptional woman. That's how President Akufo-Addo described her, and has been laid to rest today. The late poet is credited for utilizing her pen as a weapon to fight for the rights of women and girls, especially. This was retweeted by her daughter Kina Likimani in a poetic tribute. But President Akufo-Addo, we can hear from him.
Mommy, it's a matter of perspective and gratitude, this your death. The Stoics ask, is the situation bad or is it your thinking that makes it so? Oh, it's devastating. It's not that the ground has collapsed under my feet. It's that I need a whole other realm in which to exist. But if I'm here now,
tireless advocate for women. It was her belief that women are the first line educators of our children, our communities, our nations, our region, and our continent. And that we empower our children by empowering our women. She fought against the multitude of hurdles, cultural, economic, religious, and social, that faced women, and urged leaders across the continent, and indeed across the world, to take appropriate actions to implement fully and efficiently commitments needed to improve the welfare of women and girls.
Daughter of Amateju, the late Kina Likimani, and President Akufo-Addo eulogizing her. May his soul rest in perfect peace. And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News, sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Have a good afternoon.